Welcome to the ROI Masterclass, the podcast where vision meets strategy and bold moves create measurable results. I'm Liat Siegel, interior designer and ROI strategist with 17 years of experience. I help businesses transform properties and ideas into high-performing assets. This show is specifically for real estate investors, hospitality operators, and boutique developers who aren't afraid to take risks, challenge the status quo, and demand a return on every decision they make. Each and every week, we talk with innovators and leaders across industries about the strategies and the insights and really all the unconventional thinking that turns potential into profit every single time. If you believe that smart design, decisive leadership, and strategic risk are the keys to real ROI, you're in the exact right place. Let's dive in. Today, I'm joined by Jessica Bennett. She is a marketing executive, storyteller, and community advocate based in Houston, Texas. As vice president of marketing at Infante Marketing Solutions and a proud Galveston County 40 under 40 honoree, she's known for crafting people-first strategies that elevate both brands and communities. Jessica supports a range of mission-driven clients, including the nonprofit Love Here, and brings her signature mix of heart, creativity, and strategy to everything she touches, on and off mic. Let's welcome Jessica to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invite. This is so fun.
Yeah. So tell us, we had a great initial call about your background and everything you do, but for our audience, tell us what got you to where you are and why you love what you do.
Yeah. Well, I'll start from college level if we can do that. So I actually was going to be an educator originally. All growing up, I wanted to be a teacher and dreamed of teaching and would have like makeshift classroom sessions and the whole shebang. But halfway through my undergrad, when I was doing my basic courses and I had actually obtained a degree in childhood development, my associate's degree. When I was making that next step to the University of Houston, Clear Lake, I had to declare a major and was kind of, battling and unsure if I was still wanting to go the education route. And then some things popped up that really had me shift gears. And so I was talking to my twin sister, Jennifer, about, life and what am I going to do next? And she actually doesn't even remember this conversation. But she told me, marketing would be great. You should look into that. Because I love photography and I love planning parties and events and things like that. So she could see that marketing would be a great career path for me. And I had never even considered it before. So that's how I got into marketing. And once I dove in, I loved everything about it. And really, I was more focused on communication and PR during my undergrad. But, that marketing, communication, PR, advertising bubble is just, it all kind of forms together at some point. So I graduated with my degree from the University of Houston, Clear Lake, in communication. And I actually did an internship my last semester of school with a PR firm. And then they onboarded me from there. So that worked out great. I was at this PR firm for 4 years. We did not have home building clients. We actually specialized in the aerospace and energy sector, which was way out of my comfort zone. I had no familiarity with that at all. Even though living in Houston, aerospace was just not something that I was ever really tapped into personally. So that was interesting, having to learn a new career and a whole new kind of specialty and industry. And from there, I moved to home building. I found a really great connection and was introduced to a marketing role. So I applied for the marketing role with Perry Homes. And from there, my journey just grew and flourished. I was at Perry for 6 years and held several roles there in marketing, from field marketing to full-scale development marketing for communities, to corporate communications marketing. So, wore many hats, loved every one of them. And then I moved to a position with a custom home builder and stepped into a vice president of marketing role. And that's the level I'm kind of consistent at now. now. But instead of working directly for a home builder now, I work for a marketing agency, and we have multiple home builder clients, medical practices, nonprofits, and others. So I hope that was
Yeah,
it was
quite
a
the
lot of
resume.
information. It
Yeah.
was a lot of information, but I like to share the journey just because each part had a big place, in my path and in my success and my growth. Everything from where I ended up going to school to first job. So it all kind of works together, and that's the story.
Yeah. Well, wow. Like you said, you've worn so many different hats.
Yes.
Um, in terms of where you're at right now, do you feel
Mhm.
like you're home? Do you feel like this is where you're meant to be?
I think so. Don't make me cry. Feel emotional with that question. So my business partner, Carrie, she was actually the head of marketing at Perry Homes for like 15 years. So she's a very influential, successful professional. And she decided 2 years ago exactly or probably decided a little bit before that, but made the switch 2 years ago to start her own marketing agency, just because at that point she was basically running a marketing agency for a corporation. Perry, they really had a strong marketing team with like 30 professionals with, graphic designers and people out in the field. There were just so many players. A lot of times now you'll see that home builders have one or two people, and that's their marketing team. So she really had a great, experience and kind of like leverage with running teams and working with contractors and vendors and all the things and running a business. And she has two small children, under 10. Her son is turning 10 this month. And she decided, she really wanted to be home more with them. She wanted to kind of start a legacy. So she started her own business. And a few months in, she recruited me to that dream. And, previously before that, I had kind of started an agency or, in between home builders, I had given it a really good thought of, starting a boutique PR firm. But I didn't have the business background like Carrie had. I didn't have just some of the strengths that she has that I don't. She's a great business leader. I'm kind of up in the clouds sometimes, but we really balance each other out. So I really do feel like this is where I'm, supposed to be. We work so well together. She's my greatest mentor and has also really shaped my career path. So, yes, long story short,
You're home. You're
yes,
home. That's amazing.
I feel that, yes, I am.
And what aspect of you've worked in different industries and done marketing for different types of clients. What
Mhm.
about this kind of drives you and makes you feel like this is home?
Yeah. Well, I'll answer that in a couple ways, starting with the home building groups. A home is usually a person or a couple's greatest investment that they'll ever make. Some people have multiple homes, but a lot of people buy one home and live in that home for forever until, they pass. So, home is such a special place. My home growing up was just a beautiful home, filled with love and all the things. So home has just a lot of sentiment to it, and being able to market and partner with builders that I believe in, it's just this really special thing. And then getting to do that with my business mentor, and it all feels like things. It doesn't feel like work. It's things that I enjoy. It's natural. It feels easy. I mean, not always. Sometimes it's very stressful and we're juggling a lot, at one time. But it does feel natural and gives you kind of that homey feel, working with builders and working with this specific boutique agency. Did I answer your question okay there?
Yeah, so it's like an extension of, of your passion and the ethos
Yes.
of what you believe is most important. Um,
Yes.
that's fascinating. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about we talked a lot about the experiential side of home building, right?
Yep.
And marketing and how those pair. Can you tell us in your world how you see that coming together?
Yeah. So how marketing and home building pair? That's what you're asking. So I think that marketing, every business needs marketing. Even if you're a startup, you're marketing yourself. And, so marketing is really crucial and integral, I think, for any business. With home building, people might think that homes sell themselves. That's not always the case. Sometimes the price tag is scary. So you need someone kind of coaching you through that process. And that's where marketing comes in. Marketing and communication focuses on the investment side of it and figuring out the financial side and making that kind of in layman's terms so it's easy to understand. Marketing is the beautiful visuals and video kind of tours and guides that take you from your home on the couch, to the home that you could potentially be living in through that virtual experience. So marketing really just has a lot of factors in selling homes, especially for production builders or even custom builders. But for production builders, sometimes they have a lot of inventory that they need to move. And, that's where you're thinking of it as like products and business really in that aspect. But then marketing is over here and they're coming and, also softening the corporate mindset, I think, of, this isn't just inventory. These are people and families and kind of merging those kind of ideas together too. So marketing is, like the wife and the business side is like the husband or vice versa. It's just a nice marriage, and marketing complements and grows the business essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that you can say the same for interior design and marketing. I think they also go hand in hand in terms, because
Yes.
interior design is really just another marketing tool, because
Yeah.
we're telling stories and getting them to envision themselves in the home. And
Right.
you have to be able to tell that story online, and then they have to be able to experience it offline, in the actual space, whether it's staging, and showcasing a model home, creating visuals through renderings and VR walkthroughs, and
Absolutely.
and that's all. It's all telling the story. How do you see and do you use visuals in your marketing in order to kind of tell that story? And how does design play an impact in terms of how well and how much a property sells for?
Yes, so interior design is very important, very crucial in that home building process. Sometimes the buyer can't really see the end result when it's a slab and framing, and that's where interior design comes in, and you have the mock-ups and the beautiful mood boards, and can really give them that visual connection that they need. Even myself, I don't really love walking homes that aren't complete, just because I am a visual person and I don't like it how it looks, under construction. So, it's very important. And then with design also, virtual staging or, in-person staging or vignetting or whatever you might call it, when the home is complete, having photos taken that have, staging is really important, because again, a buyer might not be able to imagine what they would do with that room, and staging can help them envision themselves in the home. And, it's just one more piece of that puzzle that really is important. So I think I think I covered everything that I wanted to on that.
And what do you feel like helps customers, right? We have the know, like, trust factor. What do you feel helps them make that buying decision? What is it the key? What are the key elements that get them to trust you and to buy from you?
Yeah. Well, I think reputation is very important. So, goes both ways. Like, I want to work for builders that I believe in and that have a solid reputation. And I would also want to purchase from a builder that has a solid reputation. So if I'm a buyer, I'm looking at their reviews, and, that's just the digital world that we're in. Unfortunately, there can be good and bad, and you just have to be able to respond to it. I look to see if a builder is responding and try to handle these reviews. That's also something that I held a role that was reputation management. So it's just I just understand that world. But customers are going online and commenting and reviewing companies based on their experience, whether good or bad. And so I think that is great. You can easily access at the touch of a button or a couple clicks, a bunch of history on a builder that you're looking into. So I think that's plays a huge role. And that's a part of marketing. That's part of marketing and communication where, again, you're responding or, maintaining the online presence and truly, a builder should want to correct any issues that come up. And so if there is an issue that comes up, the builder needs to address it. And then, sometimes the customer will go back and update that review. That's showing that the builder saw, listened, cared, acted, and then there was a positive result on the other side of it. So I think that's really important. And that's just kind of where we are today, with technology, but also I think it's important because that shows that the builder is genuine, that they care. It shows their communication abilities. And I think that plays into trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Like brand reputation is everything, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, if
you're not maintaining your brand, other people will be representing it for you. And,
that's a good one.
It's out of your control at that point, So if you're not involved in your own brand representation, that just gets real risky.
Right.
It's kind of up in the air.
Right. You either happen to life or life happens to you.
Yes. Yeah. And then sometimes life happens and then it's how you respond. And, it's also about how you prepare. Like if you know that there's these homes in an area that are having issues or, one issue pops up and it pops up in another home. That has luckily never happened to me, but, like hearing of mold or these large production builders that have these issues that affect mass production and mass homes. I think, make or break is how they handle that. And if they're doing it the right way and being proactive too about correcting any issues that they are made aware of. And then, doing their due diligence to make sure that there are no others out there that could be potentially affected too.
What do you recommend for other home builders out there in terms of like the top 3 things that they can do in order to have good reputation management or in terms of marketing? What are those big levers that they can pull in order to see the highest return on investment?
So I think, maintaining their reviews. So Facebook reviews, there's a whole suite of places that they need to be monitoring. Probably like a list of 20 places that I have personally had in a spreadsheet and would check the website and make sure that the builder is doing okay there, and if there's any issues that come up, being very active and not waiting around, looking to resolve it or looking to see how it can be made right. So I think, monitoring is very important step for them. And then, of course, acting and resolving the issues. I think having a presence on social media is also very important, not just because I do that for a living, marketing my clients on social, but also social is, I was just talking to somebody yesterday, actually on a podcast that I hosted, about how Instagram is almost more not more important, but almost more of a go-to for professional connections. It just, I guess, probably depends on the age range. But a lot of people are going to Instagram versus LinkedIn for business partnerships, and they want to see how is this person representing themselves online, and are there any red flags or questionable posts, or are they speaking on politics? The things that people should not be doing unless they want the backlash. So I think having a social presence is very important. And then having a positive presence, of course, too. So monitoring and acting, social media. I think also just making sure that, word of mouth does play a big role in home building too. A friend's going to tell their friend or their family about the experience that they had. So I think relationships probably goes into that, just maintaining positive relationships with your home builders, with your potential leads and clients. If they come in the door and never buy again, there's probably still some way to stay involved where you're not spamming them, but, thinking of you and hope your family is doing great. If you haven't found a home, we're still here if you need us. So keeping that kind of personal aspect, whether it's digital or handwritten card or something, I think, just keeping your community together, letting them know that you care about them. And also, especially like during hard times, with community events or natural events, natural disasters. I think when builders step up and help that community or help communities around them, it also really shows that they care and that they're giving back and rebuilding the homes that, we know are so important. So I think that's also, that's something that we experience a lot is floods and destruction in Texas. And, I've worked with builders like Perry. They were so wonderful with, disaster recovery and helping their own employees, but also the community. Specifically with Harvey, I was personally impacted during Harvey, and they just were so supportive. I could not have, made it through that hard time, I don't think, without them as a company. Yeah.
It's really all about relationships, isn't it?
Yes. It is.
And to not feel like another number. And I think that's, it's really the power of, having a balance of the spreadsheet, but also on the design and marketing end of things, whether it's interior design or it's graphic design and marketing, and how you, show your brand presence online. Because, an investor can look at a property and say, well, investing in marketing or investing in these upgrades are not going to make a huge return.
Yeah.
Perhaps they're not considering the emotional, personal side of things.
Yeah.
The other person on the other end of the deal, that buys with emotion,
right.
They buy with their heart. That's how most people make decisions. So, I think that the lesson from all of this is really building relationships and not just telling a story for the sake of marketing and, selling a property, but, caring about the people that are actually purchasing the home, purchasing the property.
Yes, absolutely. And I do have a real world example that I can share with you about how marketing can lead to actual sales, and showing that ROI for people who might be skeptical of marketing working. So during COVID, everything was shut down, of course, and our marketing team was kind of tasked with thinking outside of the box on what we can do to still get information and our messaging out in front of people. And we have homes available if they hate the home that they're in, they're stuck at home all day for weeks at a time. And if they're looking to move, we have this home, and, they might not be able to get out and see it in person. So our marketing leader at the time, Matt, he threw out the idea, or he led the effort really, of having each marketing manager go out to their homes, make appointments with construction to make sure there's no being in the same vicinity. We went out with masks during COVID, but we went to each of our inventory homes that we had available. We took video on our phones. We, looked into certain settings and clicked buttons and, put the camera at a high quality to get the best shot possible. Some of us had stabilizers. I didn't use a stabilizer because I actually kind of have trouble with them, but I do need to get better at using one. But so I'm still dealing with that today. But so I did it without a stabilizer and did like a slow-mo, walk through of the home and like would go up the stairs. And so there was this one particular home out of, 20 that I had probably filmed and put together. And I posted it to the local Houston Perry Homes Facebook page. And within hours, a buyer saw the video and was interested, made an appointment the next day to go walk the home in person that they had seen on their phone online. So the buyer came from the video that we posted. They had their phone open with the video in their hand, looking at the video while they're walking through each home physically. which is so silly to me, but like amazing. And then within 2 more days, they contracted on the home. Like they literally saw the home online and purchased it within 3 days.
That's amazing.
And it was a huge win, a huge win for marketing, a huge win for the company, a huge win during a really hard time of COVID. And that's like the dream state and goal is to be able to track your marketing efforts to conversion to a sale. And this was a real life example of that.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, talk about ROI, right?
I know. I'm like, this is, do I get a commission? I didn't. But it's fine. It was really something I can still share and talk about.
What an experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Seeing that and being able to say, okay, well, I know that being able to tell that story and to show the home and use the visuals. Imagine, was it in construction or was it staged?
No, it wasn't even staged. It was an empty home, but it was complete.
Right. So imagine, like also during COVID, there was a lot of bidding, like, overbidding for homes.
And we experienced some of that too, which was crazy.
Right. And like, these price wars. And so just imagine being able to use that as a tool. Now, obviously we're in a different market and especially in every location, it's different too. But using those as a tool to then elevate at least even the perceived value, right? Will then always equate to actual value.
Yes, absolutely. So, like I said, there's ROI comes up a lot with marketing because executives want to see that their dollars are being spent wisely. Makes total sense. And a lot of times, it's hard to show them the direct ROI for certain campaigns or, if it's not digital, it's definitely harder to track, like the old school mailers. There's certain ways like putting QR codes on and tracking who scans it, looking at the number of households you sent it to, things like that. There's still data there, but digital is everything now. And, being able to see how many people are viewing your content and the things that they like that are more engaging. There's just some really great tools that we have now in marketing and digital marketing that we haven't had before. So, this what a time to be alive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, for our last question, do you feel like what are the trends that you're seeing happening? I think that attribution tracking is obviously really important to know the data and the conversion, like you said, of where the traffic comes from and what source they're coming from and how they're converting. What's that journey so that you can duplicate that again and again when you have a working model. But what are you seeing right now is the next big trend in terms of marketing and being able to make that conversion for properties? Yeah.
So I don't know if it's not new, but something that everyone should be doing and not everyone is. Google Analytics tracking the back end of your website. You're able to see who came from social, who came from, a mailer that has a QR code on it. You're able to see all these reference points of how they're finding the end result of being on your website. So that's really important to have analytics that you're tracking, not just the basic, but, because Google Analytics, I think is free, at least as of now. Could change. But a free tool that is incredible that people should be using. Social is, a trend, but not really. Social is crucial. Social media has built-in analytics. You can also pay for platforms that kind of deep dive further into your analytics and even your competitors. There's also a lot of free tools out there to, tap into additional insights, but Meta has built-in insights, which are great. Instagram recently in the last maybe 6 months or less came out with their own editing app for Reels that push to Instagram directly and to Facebook. It's called Edits.
Okay.
Edits. It's called Edits. And when you create Reels in there, it also further promotes your content, and it has a label saying made with edits. And it kind of gives you additional insights. Like, you get pop-ups of just how engaging your reel is and how it compares to others. So it's just one more area to get insights. QR codes, I keep mentioning, is kind of a trend that has come in waves. It was really popular for a while, and then I think there was a time where people like weren't really using them, and it was kind of, why does that have a QR code on it? That's outdated. There was a time, really, there was a time, but now it's come back where QR codes are heavily used. And I think they do have a good place if it makes sense. Like if someone can actually scan it. I think it's so silly. When I see a social media post with a QR code, sometimes, rarely, someone might be on their computer and then they can take their phone and scan it. A lot of times, probably like 80% are viewing on a mobile device. So they're not going to be able to scan the QR code from their mobile. So you have to be smart about it.
Exactly. That's another one. Make it mobile friendly, like whatever.
Yes, absolutely. Mobile is everything. Most people, and it depends on age ranges. Like when you get into, I think it's Gen X, or what is the generation above millennials that are baby boomers? What's the correct term?
Gen X.
Okay.
Or Gen X, I think.
Yeah, one of those, my parents' age. They are on their desktops a lot, but they're also still on their mobile. So it's probably more like 50-50 there. So if you have clients, which a lot of home builders do, you want to have a positive experience on both devices. So some are almost too mobile friendly, like very boring and plain. And when you're looking on the desktop, it just looks cheap. So that's something to keep in mind too.
Right balance. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This has been such a fun conversation.
Yeah. Yes.
For all
yes, it has.
If our audience wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
So I have a podcast, and it's through the University of Houston Clear Lake as part of my graduate capstone. So I would love to direct anybody there. It's at Fortunate Events Podcast. That's the name of it, Fortunate Events. So I'm on Instagram, and that's really the best way to get in touch with me. Please go like and follow my socials. I am partnering with some really awesome people for these podcasts. I've recorded 10, and I'm aiming to record 12 more by the end of September.
Amazing.
I don't know if it'll happen. I mean, that's a pretty lofty goal, but I do have a list and a proposed schedule if I can make it happen. I would love to use this content to post, to share on that page as well. So kind of like a combination podcast, but this is obviously your podcast. But I would love to feature you on my social pages too, if that's cool.
Absolutely. Collaboration is really everything.
Yes. And then soon after September, maybe for season 3, I'll have you come and be a guest on the podcast.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's so insightful, so fabulous. Thank you again for joining us.
Yes.
And
thank you for asking me. This is my first podcast that I've done really outside of my own. So thank you for the invite. And this really has been fun.
Yeah, amazing. So I can't wait to see what you do next. And
thank you.
Live.
Thank you. Well, I'm so happy to be connected, and we'll definitely stay in touch and follow each other. And, I'm happy to be here if you ever have any questions or need anything like that.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.